You feel the obsidian blade pierce your chest as the Aztec priest's hand plunges into your ribcage. But this is only the beginning of your transformation into an Eagle Warrior. The year is 1487, and you're standing atop the Great Pyramid of Tenochtitlan, watching your own beating heart being offered to the sun god Huitzilopochtli. But you won't believe what happens next because somehow, impossibly, you're still alive. And this ritualistic death is just the first step in becoming something no longer entirely human. Welcome to the most terrifying initiation rituals in human history, where ordinary men were systematically broken down and rebuilt into killing machines through practices so extreme they defy belief. These aren't just stories, these are the documented methods that ancient civilizations used to forge warriors so fearless they welcomed death, so savage they drank the blood of their enemies, and so transformed by ritual that they barely qualified as human anymore. What you're about to experience will challenge everything you thought you knew about the limits of human endurance and the price of becoming a warrior. From the frozen forests of Germania to the blood-soaked temples of Mesoamerica, from the mountain caves of ancient Greece to the windswept fjords of Scandinavia, we'll journey through the most psychologically devastating transformation rituals ever conceived by the human mind. But first, let's return to that Aztec pyramid, because what happens next will haunt your nightmares. As Lekalo, the high priest, withdraws your still-beating heart, you don't die instead. You experience the most crucial moment of Aztec warrior initiation. The heart isn't actually yours, but belongs to a captured enemy warrior whose courage you must literally consume to gain his strength. You're forced to bite into the warm, pulsing organ while it still beats, feeling the enemy's life force transfer into your body. The metallic taste of blood fills your mouth as you swallow pieces of human heart, and in that moment, you cross a line that separates civilized humans from the apex predators that Aztec Eagle Warriors were designed to become. This cannibalistic communion creates an unbreakable psychological transformation. The priests believe that by consuming your enemy's heart while it still pulses with life, you absorb not just his physical strength but his warrior spirit, his courage, and his knowledge of combat. But here's where it gets truly horrific. You must keep consuming hearts from defeated enemies throughout your warrior career, each one making you less human and more divine predator. The Aztec transformation doesn't end with heart consumption. Next comes the scarification ritual, where your skin is carved with sacred symbols, using obsidian blades sharper than modern surgical instruments. Every cut represents a spiritual transformation, turning your flesh into a living map of your warrior achievements. The priests use a hallucinogenic mixture of peyote, morning glory seeds, and fermented pulque to induce visions while they carve, ensuring that you experience the pain as a religious ecstasy rather than torture. But if you think Aztec rituals are extreme, wait until you experience what Germanic Berserkers endured to achieve their legendary battle fury. Picture yourself in the dark forests of ancient Germania, circa 200 CE, standing before Bjorn the Bloodthirsty, a Berserker champion whose reputation for savagery extends across the known world. You're about to undergo the Hulfener transformation, the ritual that will turn you into a wolf warrior capable of fighting in a supernatural trance state. The Berserker initiation begins with 9 days of isolation in a forest cave, consuming nothing but raw meat from animals you've killed with your bare hands. By the 7th day, malnutrition and sensory deprivation have pushed your mind to the breaking point, making you susceptible to the psychological conditioning that follows. On the 9th night, the Berserker shamans arrive with their sacred brew, a mixture of fly agaric mushrooms, fermented honey, and the blood of wolves, designed to shatter your human consciousness completely. As the hallucinogenic mixture takes hold, you feel your human identity dissolving. The shamans begin the chanting that will reprogram your mind, teaching you to channel the spirit of the wolf until you can no longer distinguish between your human consciousness and the predatory instincts of the pack. The transformation is so complete that Berserkers often had to be chained between battles to prevent them from attacking their own allies in their altered state. But here's what makes the Berserker ritual truly terrifying. The final test requires you to kill a wolf with nothing but your teeth and nails, then wear its pelt while it's still warm with blood. The shamans believe this transfers the wolf's spirit into your body permanently, creating a dual consciousness where the human and wolf aspects of your personality exist simultaneously. Many candidates die during this final test, either torn apart by the wolves or driven completely insane by the psychological strain of maintaining two conflicting identities in one mind. You won't believe what happens to Berserkers who successfully complete the transformation. They develop the ability to enter a battle trance so profound that they feel no pain, show no fear, and fight with strength that seems genuinely superhuman. Roman historians documented Berserkers continuing to fight after sustaining wounds that should have been immediately fatal, driven by a combination of psychological conditioning and the lingering effects of their hallucinogenic training. The Spartan agoge makes both Aztec and Germanic rituals look like children's games. From age 7, you would have been taken from your family and subjected to a training regimen designed to break down every aspect of normal human psychology. But the truly horrific aspects of Spartan warrior training aren't the ones historians talk about. The most extreme rituals were reserved for the final year of training, when candidates underwent ceremonies so brutal they were kept secret for centuries. Picture yourself at 17, standing naked in the sacred grove of Artemis Orthia while your training instructor, Leonidas of the Royal Guard, prepares you for the diamastagosis, the ritual flogging that will either complete your transformation into a Spartan warrior or kill you in the process. You're not just being whipped, you're being subjected to systematic torture designed to test whether your mind has been successfully conditioned to prioritize honor over life. The flogging continues until you either die from blood loss or prove your worthiness by maintaining absolute silence throughout the ordeal. But here's the truly psychotic aspect: your own family members are required to watch and cheer for the torturers if you show any sign of weakness. This creates a final psychological break where traditional human bonds of love and protection are completely severed in favor of state loyalty. Survivors of the diamastagosis then face the kryptia, a year-long ritual where you're sent into the countryside with nothing but a knife and orders to kill any helot slaves you encounter. This isn't just military training, it's systematic desensitization to murder designed to eliminate any remaining traces of human empathy. The kryptia candidates who killed the most creatively were celebrated as heroes, while those who showed mercy were executed as failures. Celtic Fianna warriors underwent trials that combined physical ordeal with supernatural terror. As a candidate for the legendary warrior band of ancient Ireland, you would face tests designed by Finn McCumhale himself, challenges that pushed the boundaries between the physical and spiritual worlds. The most terrifying trial involved spending a night alone in the Cave of Shadows, beneath the Hill of Tara, where Celtic druids claimed the spirits of defeated enemies still lingered. Armed only with a bronze sword and clothed in nothing but your skin, you had to survive until dawn while supernatural entities, whether real or hallucinations induced by the cave's natural gases, attempted to drive you insane with visions of your own death. The cave walls were painted with images of dismembered warriors and scenes of ritual cannibalism, designed to fill your mind with the knowledge of what awaited those who failed the trials. But the cave trial was merely preparation for the final Fianna initiation, single combat against a champion while buried waist deep in the ground. This wasn't just a test of fighting skill, but a psychological exercise in overcoming the most primal human fear: being helpless while facing mortal danger. Fianna warriors who survived this ordeal developed an almost supernatural calm in battle, having proven to themselves that they could face death, even under the most disadvantageous circumstances. The Maasai lion hunt ritual transforms boys into warriors through a ceremony that has remained virtually unchanged for over 1,000 years. As a young Maasai male approaching your 16th year, you face the ultimate test of courage, killing a lion with nothing but a spear, while your age mates watch. But this isn't just about hunting, it's about confronting the apex predator that represents everything the Maasai warrior must become: fearless, solitary, and utterly dominant in combat. The ritual begins with weeks of preparation where you consume only cattle blood and milk, a diet believed to purify your spirit and strengthen your connection to the cattle that represent Maasai wealth and identity. The elders tell you stories of legendary warriors who faced lions with nothing but courage and died gloriously, their names remembered forever in the oral traditions of the tribe. But they also warn you that cowardice in the face of the lion brings permanent exile, a fate worse than death in Maasai culture. When the moment comes, you find yourself alone on the savannah, tracking a male lion while your heart hammers against your ribs with primal terror. The spear in your hands feels inadequate against the 400-pound predator, whose roar can be heard for miles. But this is precisely the point: the ritual is designed to push you beyond the boundaries of rational fear into a state where survival depends entirely on warrior instinct. The psychological transformation occurs during the hunt itself. As you track the lion through the tall grass, every shadow could conceal death, every sound could signal attack. This constant state of hypervigilance rewires your nervous system, creating the heightened awareness that makes Maasai warriors legendary for their ability to detect danger. Those who survive the lion hunt return as fundamentally different beings, no longer boys but apex predators themselves. Viking blood eagle ceremonies represent perhaps the most psychologically devastating warrior ritual in human history. As a member of Bjorn Ironside's war band, you would have been required to participate in this ritualistic execution of captured enemies, not as executioner, but as spiritual participant in a ceremony designed to ensure your passage to Valhalla. The Blood Eagle wasn't just about killing enemies. It was about transforming your relationship with death itself, until you viewed your own eventual demise as a glorious honor, rather than something to be feared. The ritual begins with the captured enemy warrior bound face down on a stone altar carved with runic inscriptions, dedicated to Odin the All-Father. Using an axe blessed in battle, the executioner cuts through the ribs on both sides of the spine, then reaches into the chest cavity to pull out the lungs, arranging them like wings across the victim's back. But here's what makes this ceremony truly horrific for participants. You're required to watch every detail while chanting prayers to Odin, maintaining eye contact with the victim throughout his execution. The psychological impact on participants is devastating and intentional. By forcing young warriors to witness the Blood Eagle without flinching, Viking culture ensured that they became completely desensitized to violence and death. But more than that, the ritual creates a spiritual bond between the participants and Odin, who demands blood sacrifice in exchange for victory in battle. Warriors who have participated in Blood Eagle ceremonies report feeling a profound spiritual transformation, as if they've crossed a threshold that separates ordinary humans from Odin's chosen warriors. The most disturbing aspect of the Blood Eagle ritual is its effect on the participants' relationship with their own mortality. After watching enemies die in this ritualistic manner, Viking warriors develop what can only be described as battle ecstasy and actual excitement about the possibility of dying gloriously in combat. The psychological conditioning makes them virtually fearless in battle, but it also strips away fundamental aspects of human self-preservation instinct. Samurai death meditation practices push the boundaries of psychological conditioning even further. As a young samurai in training under the legendary swordmaster Miyamoto Musashi, you would undergo daily rituals designed to eliminate your attachment to life itself. The practice of Kanchi death meditation requires you to visualize your own death in graphic detail every morning upon waking, imagining the precise manner of your demise and your spiritual state at the moment of death. But visualization is only the beginning. Advanced samurai training includes actual burial practice where you're placed in a wooden coffin and buried alive for varying periods of time, sometimes for hours, eventually for entire nights. The purpose is to experience the terror of death while maintaining absolute mental discipline, proving that you've transcended normal human fear of mortality. Many candidates suffocate during these exercises, but their deaths are considered honorable proof of their commitment to the samurai path. The psychological transformation achieved through death meditation is profound and irreversible. Samurai who complete this training develop what contemporary observers describe as an otherworldly calm, showing no emotional response to threats of death or actual mortal danger. They've trained themselves to view death as merely another aspect of existence, no more significant than sleeping or eating. The final stage of samurai death training involves seppuku practice, rehearsing your own ritual suicide until the movements become as natural as breathing. You learn the precise angle to insert the tanto knife into your abdomen, the exact motion required to disembowel yourself efficiently, and the mental discipline required to maintain dignity while dying in agony. This isn't just preparation for a possible future necessity, it's a daily reminder that death is preferable to dishonor. Scythian scalping rituals create warriors who view enemy body parts as spiritual talismans. As a young Scythian horseman, following the legendary warrior King Idanthyrsus, you learn that taking scalps isn't just about counting kills. It's about absorbing the spiritual power of defeated enemies. But the Scythian practice goes far beyond simple scalp taking into territories that challenge basic human sanity. The ritual begins with the scalping itself, performed while the enemy is still alive and conscious. Using a curved bronze knife, you make a circular cut around the hairline, then grasp the hair and tear the scalp away from the skull in one motion. The victim's screams are considered music to the Scythian war gods, and you're required to maintain eye contact throughout the process to absorb the enemy's courage as it leaves his body. But here's where the ritual becomes truly disturbing. After taking the scalp, you must drink the enemy's blood directly from his skull while he's still dying. Scythian warriors carry specially crafted drinking cups made from human skulls, and consuming enemy blood from these vessels is believed to transfer the victim's strength and battlefield knowledge directly into your body. The metallic taste of human blood becomes as familiar to Scythian warriors as the taste of mare's milk. The psychological conditioning created by these practices is extreme. Scythian warriors develop an addiction to violence that requires constant warfare to satisfy. They become unable to function in peaceful environments, experiencing withdrawal symptoms similar to drug addiction when deprived of opportunities for combat and killing. Herodotus documented Scythian warriors who became physically ill during extended periods of peace. requiring raids against neighboring tribes to maintain their psychological stability. Thracian gladiator blood baptisms represent the ultimate merger of religious ceremony with systematic brutalization. As a candidate for the gladiator schools of ancient Thrace, you undergo initiation rites that are part spiritual transformation, part psychological programming for arena combat. The blood baptism ceremony takes place in underground chambers beneath the training schools, where captured enemies are sacrificed to the Thracian war god Ars. In rituals designed to transform you from human into living weapon, the ceremony begins with you kneeling naked before an altar carved from black stone, your body painted with symbols representing death and rebirth. The Thracian priest trainers bring forward a captured Roman soldier, his struggles and pleas for mercy serving as psychological conditioning for your future role as killer entertainer. Using a Sika, the curved dagger, that will become your signature weapon. You're required to open the victim's throat while he looks into your eyes, then stand beneath the spurting blood as it covers your entire body. But the blood baptism is only the first stage of Thracian conditioning. Next comes the ritual scarification, where your skin is carved with protective symbols, using the same blade that killed the sacrifice victim. The pain is excruciating, but you're trained to interpret it as spiritual ecstasy, a sign that Ars is accepting your transformation from human into gladiator. The scars will serve as armor in future combats, both psychological and spiritual. Protection against enemy weapons. The final stage involves consuming portions of the sacrifice victim's flesh in a communion ceremony, designed to merge your identity completely with the warrior role. This cannibalistic ritual creates an unbreakable psychological bond between you and violence, ensuring that killing in the arena feels like a religious duty rather than murder. Thracian gladiators trained through these methods become legendary for their ferocity and their apparent immunity to fear or remorse. Native American Vision Quest ordeals push candidates beyond the boundaries of physical endurance into realms where hallucination and reality merge into spiritual transformation. As a young warrior of the Lakota Sioux following the Great Chief Sitting Bull, you face the Hanbal Seo 4-day vision quest that will either reveal your guardian spirit or result in your death from exposure, dehydration, or predator attack. But this isn't just about surviving alone in the wilderness. It's about systematically destroying your ordinary consciousness to make room for warrior spirit possession. The quest begins with ritual purification in the Inipi Sweat Lodge, where you're subjected to temperatures that push your body to the edge of heat stroke. The lodge is constructed from willow branches and covered with buffalo hides, creating an environment where temperatures can exceed 120 degrees Fahrenheit. You remain inside for hours while the medicine man pours water over red-hot stones, creating steam that makes breathing difficult and consciousness unstable. The purpose is to purify your spirit by literally sweating out your civilian identity. After the Sweat Lodge, you're led to an isolated hilltop where you'll remain without food or water for days and nights. Your only possessions a sacred pipe and a buffalo robe. The combination of fasting, dehydration, and sleep deprivation quickly pushes your mind into altered states where hallucinations become indistinguishable from reality. But these visions aren't random. They're carefully programmed through years of cultural conditioning to manifest as encounters with animal spirits who will guide your warrior development. The most intense part of the vision quest involves ritual self-mutilation designed to prove your commitment to spiritual transformation. Using a bone needle and sinew thread, you pierce the flesh of your chest and arms, creating wounds that will serve as permanent reminders of your vision quest experience. The pain serves multiple purposes. It proves your courage to the spirits, creates endorphin-induced altered consciousness, and provides physical anchors for the spiritual visions that follow. Many vision quest participants report encounters with supernatural beings who test their resolve through terrifying challenges. You might face spiritual combat with enemy warriors from rival tribes, or find yourself required to prove your courage by approaching dangerous animals like bears or mountain lions. These experiences feel completely real during the altered consciousness of the quest, and they create psychological conditioning that transfers directly to actual combat situations. Celtic Berserker transformation rituals rival those of their Germanic counterparts in their systematic destruction of human sanity. As a member of the Fianna warrior band serving under Finn McCumhale, you undergo the Reastrata ritual transformation that turns you into a supernatural fighting machine capable of feats that seem to violate the laws of physics. But achieving this state requires undergoing psychological programming so extreme that many candidates never recover their normal human consciousness. The Reastrate preparation involves consuming a mixture of sacred mushrooms, fermented honey, and the blood of warriors killed in single combat. This hallucinogenic brew creates a dissociative state, where you lose awareness of your physical boundaries and normal pain responses. Celtic druids guide the transformation through chanting, and ritual drumming designed to synchronize your heartbeat with the rhythm of war itself. The transformation is so complete that Celtic berserkers in the reastered state are described by contemporary sources as becoming literally unrecognizable. Your features contort into something barely human, your strength increases to supernatural levels, and your perception of reality shifts so dramatically that you see enemies everywhere, including among your own allies. This is why Celtic berserkers were often kept isolated from other warriors when not actively engaged in combat. The most terrifying aspect of the reastered is its permanence. Unlike other warrior transformations that can be consciously activated and deactivated, Celtic berserkers often find themselves trapped in permanent partial transformation states. They develop chronic aggression, paranoid hypervigilance, and an inability to form normal human relationships. Many become hermits living alone in the wilderness, too dangerous for human society, but too damaged to function as normal warriors. Germanic unknowns. Sacred grove rituals represent the ultimate merger of warrior training with human sacrifice. As a member of this powerful tribal confederation, you participate in ceremonies that occur only during the new moon in groves considered so sacred that entering them without permission means immediate death. The rituals are designed to create an unbreakable spiritual bond between warriors and their battle fury, but they require participating in human sacrifices so extreme they were kept secret. Even from other Germanic tribes, the ceremony takes place in a grove of ancient oak trees where the Semnones believe their war god maintains his earthly dwelling. You enter the grove crawling on your belly to demonstrate submission, your weapons left outside the sacred boundary. Inside the grove, captured enemy warriors hang from the oak branches, their blood feeding the roots of the sacred trees. But you're not just witnessing these sacrifices, you're required to participate in them, as both spiritual communion and psychological conditioning for future warfare. The ritual requires you to consume portions of the sacrifice victims while they're still alive, beginning with their blood and progressing to their flesh. This cannibalistic communion is believed to transfer the victim's courage directly into your body, but it also creates a psychological association between violence and spiritual ecstasy that makes normal human empathy impossible. Germanic warriors who participate in these rituals become legendary for their complete absence of mercy or restraint in combat. The most disturbing aspect of Semnones' ritual practice is its effect on family relationships. Warriors who have participated in sacred grove ceremonies often become unable to maintain normal bonds with wives and children, viewing all human relationships through the lens of potential sacrifice to the war god. Many become hermits or professional mercenaries, too psychologically damaged for civilian life, but too valuable as warriors to be discarded by the tribes. Dacian Falx warriors undergo scarification rituals that transform their entire bodies into weapons of psychological warfare. As a member of King Decebalus' elite guard, you submit to ritual scarification that covers your entire body with symbols representing death and victory. But these aren't just decorative markings, they're created using a process so painful and extensive that it fundamentally rewires your nervous system's response to pain and injury. The scarification process takes place over several months, with new cuts being made weekly using the falx, the curved two-handed sword that gives Dacian warriors their name. The cuts are made in specific patterns that tell the story of your warrior development, with each scar representing a stage in your transformation from human to living weapon. The most painful scars are reserved for the face and hands areas, where scarification will be visible to enemies and serve as psychological warfare. But here's what makes Dacian scarification truly extreme: the cuts are deliberately infected with battlefield dirt and the blood of slain enemies, creating permanent, raised scars that serve as both spiritual protection and physical armor. The infection process is agonizing and often fatal, but survivors develop a supernatural tolerance for pain that makes them nearly invulnerable to battlefield injuries that would incapacitate normal warriors. Roman gladiator beast fighting initiation represents the ultimate test of warrior psychology under conditions of certain death. As a bestiarius in the Colosseum's underground training schools, you're conditioned to fight wild animals in arena spectacles, designed to entertain crowds through your probable death. But the training process is far more psychologically sophisticated than simple beast combat. It's a systematic program designed to transform your relationship with mortality until death becomes preferable to dishonor. The initiation begins with weeks of starvation, designed to reduce you to a purely animal state of existence. When you're finally given food, it consists of raw meat from the same species of animals. You'll be fighting lions, bears, wild boars, creating a psychological association between survival and predation. You're taught to think like a predator rather than prey, viewing the arena beasts as competitors for dominance rather than executioners. The psychological conditioning intensifies with drug-enhanced training sessions, using a mixture of opium and stimulants that creates a dissociative state where pain becomes pleasurable and death loses its terror. In this altered consciousness, you practice combat techniques against live animals that have been partially drugged to reduce their lethality while maintaining their aggression. The goal is to program your reflexes to respond to animal attacks with predatory counterattacks rather than defensive reactions. The final stage of bestiarius training involves ritual combat with animals that have been trained specifically to kill humans. These aren't random wild beasts but carefully conditioned predators that have learned to view humans as prey. Your survival depends entirely on your psychological transformation. Being complete, any remaining trace of normal human fear or hesitation will result in immediate death. The few who survive this training become legendary for their ability to kill large predators with minimal weapons, but they also become psychologically incapable of normal human interaction. Pictish warpaint rituals transform warriors into supernatural beings through body modification that extends far beyond simple decoration. As a member of the northern Pictish tribes resisting Roman invasion, you undergo ritual tattooing that covers your entire body with symbols representing your spiritual transformation from human into battle spirit. But Pictish tattooing isn't just marking the skin, it's a process that fundamentally alters your neurological response to fear and pain. The tattooing process uses needles made from human bone and ink created from the ashes of cremated enemies, mixed with sacred spring water. Each tattoo is applied during ritual ceremonies where you're required to remain completely motionless despite excruciating pain, demonstrating your transformation into a being capable of transcending normal human limitations. The designs themselves are coded spiritual messages that tell other warriors about your achievements and spiritual status. But the most extreme aspect of Pictish warrior modification involves ritual amputation of fingers to create specialized weapon grips using bronze blades heated in sacred fires. Experienced warriors remove specific finger segments to create hands optimized for wielding particular weapons. The amputation is performed without any form of anesthesia, while you chant prayers to the battle gods, proving that pain has become simply another sensation rather than something to be avoided. The cumulative effect of these rituals creates warriors so psychologically transformed that Roman historians describe them as barely human. Pictish warriors display no fear of death, no response to pain, and no mercy toward defeated enemies. They become living weapons optimized for a single purpose: killing Romans and anyone else who threatens their territory. As you experience each of these transformation rituals across cultures and centuries, a terrifying pattern emerges. Every warrior society throughout history has discovered the same fundamental truth: creating effective killers requires systematically destroying normal human psychology and rebuilding it around violence, death, and absolute loyalty to the warrior group. The specific methods vary: scarification, cannibalism, ritual drug use, psychological torture, human sacrifice, but the goal remains constant: transforming human beings into weapons that feel no fear, show no mercy, and view death as preferable to defeat. The ultimate revelation is that these rituals don't just create warriors, they create beings who are no longer fully human in any meaningful sense. They've sacrificed their capacity for normal relationships, their ability to experience peace, and their connection to civilian society in exchange for battlefield effectiveness that borders on the supernatural. They become living examples of humanity's capacity for self-transformation in service of violence. Creatures who have voluntarily surrendered their humanity to become something both more and less than human. This is the price that every warrior culture throughout history has demanded from its champions: nothing less than the complete sacrifice of their human identity in service to the eternal dance of death that has defined warfare since the beginning of civilization. The rituals may seem extreme to modern sensibilities, but they represent the logical endpoint of any society's commitment to creating warriors capable of victory at any cost. The young warriors who survived these ordeals became legends whose names echo through history, but they paid for their fame with their souls, their sanity, and ultimately their humanity itself. They show us both the incredible potential for human transformation and the terrifying cost of achieving it. In the end, perhaps the most disturbing truth about these warrior rituals is not their brutality, but their effectiveness in creating exactly what they were designed to produce: human beings who had successfully transcended every limitation that makes us human.